sort of narrow this down for sort of the average household, the average consumer who's saying, okay, so what does this all mean? You've got a study coming out from Rewiring America, which we should say was involved in the discussions for this bill, who say that $1,800.
And new reports coming out that the reconciliation bill that they're trying to pass in Congress right now could provide every American in the nation $1,800 in additional savings through credits that are included in the bill. Not quite stimulus checks and not quite $2,000. We will see. And we're also hearing that the inflation reduction that's supposed to happen from this bill is going to be happening over the course of the next couple of years. They're saying the effects of this are not going to be immediate. So let me know your thoughts. Don't know that this is necessarily going to be enough to convince the American people to keep Democrats in control of Congress in these upcoming midterm elections. We're hearing a red wave is likely going to be on the way here. I'm going to get you all the details. This is your breaking news, stimulus check update and stimulus package update. Now, let me know your thoughts. It would be amazing to have a feeling of getting that $2,000 check finally after over a year and a half of all these unfulfilled promises. And we've been hearing that these are going to come back right before these elections. And all of this is hinging upon the passage of this new reconciliation bill, having those $200 Social Security increases, $2,000 stimulus checks, child tax credits, wiping out student loan debt. We're hearing a lot of these are coming back. There are proposals on the table right now from Bernie Sanders, executive orders being considered this month by the president, but we're all waiting to see what's going to happen with this reconciliation bill. And now these reports are coming out saying $1,800 for all, but it's in the form of savings. Take a look, you guys. Let me know your thoughts. Inflation Reduction Act would lead to $1,800 in savings for the average household, analysis finds. This just coming out yesterday. Now, it says sweeping climate and healthcare legislation unveiled by Democrats last week would lead to significant cuts in energy costs for American households, according to a new analysis. A report by nonprofit group Rewiring America found that the tax incentives included as a part of the $369 billion dedicated to climate initiatives in the Inflation Reduction Act would save the average household $1,800 per year on their energy bills. So there you have it. Sounds like, they're going to be providing something. Let me know your thoughts. Is $1,800 good, or would it be good to cut checks, send them out to the American people? Let me know your thoughts, you guys. And also, they want to do this in a way that's not going to cause more debt and more inflation. Well, right now we're hearing there is still $800 billion, billion with a B, just sitting there from leftover stimulus packages, from all the ones that went out before, that's just been sent out through those packages, but has not gone out, not been sent out. And they're saying that that money, it could be used for stimulus checks. The president has the authority to take and reissue and repurpose existing funds. He can't issue new funds. Congress holds the power of the purse, but he does have the legal authority to take it, send it out for other purposes. And people are saying, all that money just sitting there, what are you waiting for? Send out the fourth federal level checks. Now, you guys, take a look. Here's a breakdown as to what we're finding is in this bill, what the Democrats' reconciliation deal has included, what's in it, and how it's going to be paid for. You can see how the money is going to be raised through health care, through tax increases, an assortment of different provisions, and how it's going to be spent, climate and energy, and also other things as well. So there's a breakdown of it. Now, also, I've got some video footage. You're going to be hearing in more detail how this is going to be helping out Americans, the effects of this, how they're going to be felt. And like I said, they're saying it's probably not going to be felt for a while. So let me know your thoughts. It doesn't sound like this is going to be the thing that's going to convince Americans, as they're not going to feel the impacts of this right away. There's going to need to be more provisions, more things rolling out, you guys. And I'm going to keep you up to date as we're hearing they are on the way. And also, if you missed my last videos, you might want to check it out. There has been a lot going on with Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. He has been doing tons of interviews. Some of them have gotten pretty intense. Check out the last video I just uploaded for you guys. And also, we're going to be seeing what unfolds with this, as we're hearing that this needs to pass this week, this reconciliation bill. And like I said, everything hinges upon this. Stimulus checks, child tax credits, all those provisions we've heard. We're waiting, we're hearing that progressives have said whatever is not included in this bill, you can expect to see an assortment of things come after that with new forms of legislation and executive actions. So we will see. I will keep you up to date. But you guys, let's go ahead and dive right in. And before we do me a quick favor. Smash the like button if you appreciate the updates. Leave your comments. Share this out. If you want to stay up to date, it's free. And turn on that notification bell. Any specific questions for me to learn about growing wealth and personal finance. And also, keep an eye out for that comprehensive list I'm working on. That's right. A lot of people think there's just the federal checks that have gone out. There's not. There are tons of checks for states, cities, and counties. I literally am approaching 100 different programs for stimulus checks happening right now. But in many cases, you got to know about it. You got to apply. It's only available for a limited amount of time, and you got to meet all the eligibility requirements. And people don't know, and they're missing out all the time. I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen to you. If you haven't already, go to www.reliefroadmap.com, put in your email, make sure you're on the wait list. I'm going to get that out here soon. It's quite the undertaking. I didn't realize what a can of worms I was opening up trying to track down all this information. It's insane. I can see why people miss out, but you guys bear with me. Gonna have that ready here for you very soon. So do that if you haven't already. And with that being said, let's take a look at this video footage breaking down everything included in this Inflation Reduction Act. And you're going to hear them talk about potentially $1,800 in savings coming to Americans.
Let's continue our conversation on this particular measure. We've got Mark Goldwein, Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, Senior Director of Policy. Mark, let's start with the inflation picture, because this is called the Inflation Reduction Act. How far does it go in bringing down inflation?
Look, this bill is not going to get us from 9% inflation down to the 2 to 3% it should be. What this bill will do is make the Federal Reserve's job just a little bit easier so that they can fight inflation with fiscal policy moving in the same direction, not the opposite direction.
Hey, Mark, it's Brian Chung here. As a follow-up on that, you've actually outlined that there's a difference between what the inflationary implications of this are in the micro, macro, and then the full effect, right? And we have to remember that there's so many different provisions in here when we talk about ACA subsidies, energy, climate reform. So can you just maybe give us a little bit more detail on what you just said? That's going to be a longer-term process that also depends on exactly how you're looking at the inflationary implications as well, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. But the good news is, almost however you look at this bill, it's going to be helpful for inflation. Macroeconomically, it's going to take some excess money out of the economy, which we need when demand is so overheated. It's also going to lower drug prices. Microeconomically, it's going to reduce the sticker prices that people and businesses see for energy, for updates to their homes, for healthcare, for drugs. And all of that is going to hopefully positively feed into inflation expectations. I don't expect the effect to be large, but the direction is pretty clear, and it's going to help make the Fed's job easier.
What kind of timeline are we talking about? Obviously, lawmakers are looking at a calendar right now saying, well, what does this mean for the midterms? They can take that to the voters and say, look, we have a win. But at the end of the day, if they don't see a reduction, they may not necessarily buy that. Are we talking medium term, long term? Talk to me about the timeline.
No, look, the only thing that's going to happen in calendar year 2022 is the regulatory reforms that are accompanying this. So, for example, permitting reform and opening up of various drilling, that might help a little bit. But really, this is a 2023, 2024, 2025 game. What this is supposed to do is help stop inflation from persisting over the long term. Again, make the Fed's job a little bit easier. It's not going to provide relief next month, and we shouldn't expect that.
Mark, let's talk about the deficit implications of all of this. Manchin making it very clear exactly how he's viewing the bill. From where you stand over at the CRFB, how are you kind of evaluating the deficit implications of all of this? So they say they're going to pay for it with that 15% corporate minimum tax, but is it squaring up like the senator is presenting it to be?
Yeah, it's not only this minimum tax. There's also a lot more money from improving tax compliance and lowering drug costs. Overall, it'll reduce the deficit by about $300 billion, which is the largest deficit reduction since 2011. If you look out 2 decades, that number is probably something more like 1.5 trillion of deficit reduction. That's not going to fix our debt, just like this isn't going to fix inflation, but it's going to help with our debt, just like this is going to help with inflation.
Mark, I wonder if you can speak to the Republican argument or critique to all of this. Now, they've talked specifically about the 15% corporate tax rate, saying, look, if you tax higher, that obviously pulls back on CapEx. That's going to bring down supply. That they argue that that's actually going to be inflationary. How do you respond to that?
By that argument, raising interest rates would be inflationary because raising interest rates also reduce investment. The reality right now is that the economy is overheated. We have too much money chasing too few goods. There's lots of different ways we can take care of that, not just on the corporate side, but on the individual side from healthcare. There's lots more we need to do, but this is a piece of the puzzle, and this is going to help get inflation, help make it a little bit easier for the Fed to get inflation under control.
How about the carried interest aspect of things that's got a lot of attention from hedge fund managers, maybe Wall Street-centric people? This is something that many iterations of legislation have attempted to tackle here. Do you think that this is a pretty substantial shot at, actually reforming the loophole, as some have described it?
Yeah, look, we can either fight inflation, reduce healthcare costs, and reduce the deficit, or we can do what the special interest wants, leave every loophole that's in effect, keep drug prices high. I vote for taking on the special interest, closing that loophole. In fact, there's many more loopholes we should be closing as well.
Mark, I wonder if we can kind of sort of narrow this down for the average household, the average consumer who's saying, okay, so what does this all mean? You've got a study coming out from Rewiring America, which we should say was involved in the discussions for this bill, who say that $1,800 is the saving for an average household. And they specifically calculated the tax incentives on the energy portion of this, whether it's the EV credit, whether it is, for heating at home. I mean, how do you think our viewers should be looking at that part of this?
Yeah. So in the near term, people are going to see some of their costs go down because of lower energy costs and because health premiums aren't going to rise. That's not actually anti-inflationary in itself, but it can be anti-inflationary to the extent that those things are paid for, so they're not putting more money in the economy, and to the extent that they help with expectations. So people may see some immediate sticker price relief, and the hope is then that turns into actual inflation relief where prices stop rising even without needing these subsidies.
Mark Goldwein, Committee for Responsible Federal Budget, Senior Director of Policy. Appreciate you joining us today.
So there you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think this is good? It's going to reduce inflation, going to save people $1,800 a year? Or do you think that this is just not enough and it's unfulfilled promises? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, you guys. But we're going to be seeing what happens with this. Again, this is up in the air. We're waiting to see how Kyrsten Sinema responds. They want to get it done this week, so it's very likely we could be hearing some news in the next couple days. I'm going to keep you up to date every step of the way. But with that being said, you guys, once again, thank you so much for joining me. If you made it this far and you haven't already, don't forget, smash the like button. Helps me out a ton with the YouTube algorithm. Leave your comments, share this out. If you want to stay up to date, it's free. And turn on that notification bell. Any specific questions for me to learn about growing wealth and personal finance, and keep an eye out for that comprehensive list of all checks and all levels so you don't miss out on anything. Email at www.reliefroadmap.com. But with that being said, you guys, once again, thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless.